Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I'm ready to finally do my final review of the Rake P661-b. I assume B stands for black, by the way. I don't know if I need to keep saying B at the end of that. I think the model's just the 661. Anyways, this is the Rake P661. This knife has kind of shocked me a little bit. I ordered this from River's Edge Cutlery. The price on it is like $27 and some change, and I just kind of wanted to see what a knife at this price point in 2020. I think this is a newer offering for Rake. In 2020, what a knife at this price point was kind of capable of, and what kind of performance I could get out of it, and where its faults would be. And I've been really kind of shocked with how great of a knife this is. If you would have handed me this knife, I don't know, 5 years ago, before I was really in the habit of collecting knives, I wasn't like in the hobby, even though I've had knives my entire life. If you had handed this to me long enough ago that I wasn't into it like I am now, and asked me to guess how much this knife cost, I probably would have guessed this knife was like $100. The action on it is awesome with this little single thumb stud. It just flies out. The detent is perfectly dialed for a thumb stud knife. The ergos on it work great for me. The fit and finish for $27 and some odd cents is crazy good. The reality, the only thing that I can knock this knife for in terms of fit and finish is literally, I don't know if you can hear that. This lanyard pin back here is just kind of, it's got a little bit of play in it. It's not like it's popping out or anything, but it has just enough play to wiggle there. Other than that, fit and finish wise, I guess if I'm being nitpicky, the knife didn't come perfectly on center, but I haven't even tried to adjust this knife because the lockup is solid the way it's set up right now, and for an under $30 knife, I frankly didn't expect the centering to be perfect. It's not touching the scale on either side, anything like that. But there are some details about this knife that are really impressive to me. I'm pretty picky about jimping. I'd rather not have jimping in most cases than have like the overly aggressive kind of rough jimping that just feels hot spotty to me rather than giving me the kind of traction that I'd actually use. But this jimping is just, it's pretty subtle. And this spine is crowned in a really nice way. And so the jimping, it's not like it's like really locking me in, but it almost gives me like an index point. It's like a spot where my thumb kind of wants to land, and I can feel that it's there, and it's in no way like abrasive, but it's just a little bit grippier than an actual smooth spine, which is what I think jimping kind of should be, unless you're making like a super tactical knife that you're supposed to be wearing combat gloves and fighting with. As a little small EDC knife like this is, they nailed that. And that spine really is impressive, especially the way that it comes into this swedge up here, which I think looks fantastic. It's a really cool design element to have that swedge. But then it stays crowned even past that all the way to the tip. And it looks great. The swedge is even on both sides. The grind is nice and even on this knife. This steel has held an edge really well. This is 14C28N, which I have no problems with, especially at this price point. Yeah, I'm really shocked with how good this knife actually is in application. The G10 feels good. It's not rough, but it is coarse enough that it does provide some texture in the hand. It's not going to tear anything up. The clip works fantastic functionally. I do wish, since it's kind of a deep carry style clip, that they had found a way to even just use this screw as the top screw for it or something, so the whole thing could be moved up to the actual butt of the knife. But at the end of the day, it still carries great. I've actually put this knife in my fifth pocket some of the time. I've worn it in my waistband some of the time. I've carried it in my right hand pocket. I've carried it in my back pocket. Sometimes I'll carry in my back left pocket, kind of clipped all the way against the edge here towards my front pocket. Any place that I've carried this knife, it's been comfortable, it's small, it's light, it's not overly thick, it's not like a super slim knife either, but yeah, I find it amazing that we're at a point in the knife community now, or in the knife world, and on the market, where a sub $30 budget can get you a knife like this. The finish on the blade has held up phenomenally well. I've put this thing through wood, rope, cardboard, a bunch of tape on boxes. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me that in terms of function, this knife can be this good for this cheap. So yeah, I really, really like the Rake P661. I do think it would be nice if Rake would name their knives instead of having these weird codes. But if that saves me a couple bucks, then maybe somehow that comes into the price equation. I actually have handled and owned a couple of Rake knives. When I first opened this up, I totally forgot. So I think I mentioned in my unboxing I had bought a Rake knife for my dad. I gave it to him, I don't remember whether it was Father's Day or his birthday or Christmas or what, but I bought one for my dad because we were in a local knife shop and he had handled one and liked it, and then I went back and got it for him after so that he wouldn't know. But I bought that knife for him, and I've handled it quite a few times since. He's carried that knife a ton, and he's had great experience with it. And then I also, at one point, I forget the model name of it. It's the one that looks a lot like a Sebenza. It's a little frame lock, just a steel frame lock on bearings. But it's a flipper, and anyways, I had one of those for a minute and ended up giving it to my buddy because he didn't have a pocket knife, and if you're going to be a close friend of mine, then you need to at least have a pocket knife, and that's been his only pocket knife for, like, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now, maybe more, maybe 2.5 years, I don't know. He's had it for, call it 2 years, and carries it all the time, uses it a lot. I don't think he's ever sharpened it. It's still going strong on the edge that it had when I gave it to him, and I got that knife on the secondary as like a throw-in on another trade for something like 25 bucks or whatever. So yeah, if you're budget conscious and you want a knife that's going to cut well, carry well, and work for everything that a knife should do, and you don't care about having something that looks super cool for the gram, or the right name etched onto the blade, the right steel marking, which I'm guilty of all the time, chasing cool steels just because they're cool, not because I get to the limits of steels. If those kinds of things aren't important to you, then this is an awesome option. And even if those things are important to you, I feel like those of us who like knives for what they are, even though our tastes may have evolved, and now I don't typically I don't chase stuff in this area, this segment of the market. Every now and then it's fun to get a knife like this and just see what it can do. Yeah, I've really enjoyed having this Rake, and so we'll see. I may end up gifting this at some point to somebody who will use it more than I will, now that I've kind of done my experiment on it, and I can move on to another one to have fun with or something. Maybe I'll use it in a giveaway. I don't know what I'll do with it quite yet. But I've just been super glad that I picked this up. It was just something that I just kind of chucked into my cart as I was making an order from River's Edge Cutlery. And so, yeah, I'm glad that I did. I'm glad this was my impulse buy, and it turned out so good because it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, every time I play with it, I'm like, wow, this is genuinely way better than it should be for the amount of money that it cost. There's a lot of I don't want to throw shade at other brands, but in my experience, some of the budget Kershaws and CRKTs and stuff that I've had that are around this price point, knives that I would, years ago, I'd buy at like Big Five or something on sale for sub $30. They were not this good. They just weren't. The action wasn't this good. The fit and finish wasn't this good. The ergos weren't this good. This knife is just really well dialed. And yeah, like I said, 5 years ago, you would have handed me this knife. I would never have guessed that it was a $30 knife. I would certainly have guessed it was way more. So it just kind of shows you how far things have come. And yeah, it's great to be surprised every now and then. So this knife has surprised me. It's the Rake P661, and I definitely recommend it for the money. It's super, super tough one to beat. So there you have it.